Hi everyone, welcome to today's Jupyter frontends and server and kernels call. Today's Wednesday, October 29th, we're 1 week, well, the week before JupyterCon. So really excited to head over there and see everyone who's going to attend. We're recording for the Jupyter YouTube channel, and I think we have Andre coming up first on the agenda.
Hey everyone, thank you, Rosa. Let me send the link. So I wanted to discuss design and like solicit more feedback potentially of the show more outputs button. So um, that's how it looked previously, like before any of our work on it. Okay, it's not opening, but you can see here, right? Like this was an old design, and then we have iterated on that design, right? And over the iteration, we landed on this option with 100%. I think from purely visual standpoint, it looks really nice. Aligns with the click to add cell button and stuff like that. But something I have not considered, and that Brian in particular pointed out, um, is like a visual hierarchy argument that I have not really considered at all. So I shared links to both issues in the chat. You could check out, all the arguments here. Um, I mean, this one and other points of the discussion, where you could just look at the, screenshots in both issues. Um, so this is a new PR uh, that iterates right on the merged PR. So this one by default I use like min width and max width parameters, but open to other suggestions. I see Rosio, for example. So this one uses this mid width 150, max width 220, kind of minimal width that would accommodate different translations of this sentence. But I have explored other options. So that's a fixed width. Um, I think that's 300 pixels. That's 50%. So check out, I have different screenshots, how it looks together with click to add cell button. Here button is left aligned. Another potential option is center alignment. So let me see. Um, so this is 50, so this is 50%, and this is 500 pixel, and earlier was 3 and 400 pixels. And then also there is screenshots for options for like 80% width centered, and for like 100% minus 20 pixels centered. So from my personal point of view, like when width is less than 100% and it's centered, it kind of visually clashes with click to add a cell region and the button, so it doesn't look as nice visually, and both like clashes with visual hierarchy. Um, so yeah, would love I mean I would love to get more everyone I think who participate in this PR, but especially myself would love to get more inputs. Rosio shared some input. Rosio, as far as I understood, was saying that she thinks a little bit more width than minimal that I have in this PR. For example, 300 pixel might work, and that 80% option might be too wide. So yeah, anyway, would love more inputs. Uh, I, I don't know if it's possible. I would love this to go into 4.5, as I mentioned a couple of times, because it's an iteration on the previous button design. But would love to get inputs anyway, as either it goes in 4.5 or does not, we should wrap up this up. So yeah, links are in the chat, also in the agenda. so you could contribute asynchronously if someone would likes to speak up. That's also.
I think the advantage of having it wider rather than smaller is that when you have outputs which span the entire width of the screen, for example, plots, your mouse pointer might be at the right edge, and then you need to move the pointer all the way to the left in order to show more outputs. So the screenshots which you provided are demonstrating like a very dummy output N, which is small and left aligned. But this is not a fair assumption that all outputs will be like that. Then having something small and centered in the middle, it means that your mouse pointer will always have, like almost always have some distance to travel. I think there is no single solution which would be ideal for every circumstance. But leaning towards like middle-sized, maybe that's a good trade-off. Basically, I think this should be a very convenient action because we are throwing an obstacle to the use of notebooks because of performance reasons. Basically, a user, if they create 100 plots and they want to view 100 plots, they will be always a little bit annoyed. They need to click a button to see what they asked for originally. So I want to make this as non-invasive for them to perform this action as possible. And I appreciate the visual hierarchy needs to be addressed so that they are not confused what this button does. And I agree that it should be smaller than 100%. I just think like maybe we could find this middle ground somehow where it's still easy to click in all circumstances. But I don't think it matters whether it's like 60%, 50%, or 80%, like as long as it's not too small.
So what about like thanks that's feedback, especially about the like right the type of content I have on the screenshots, and I can for sure make more with a lot of text. Quick question. So about the middle grounds that you in particular thinks would work, um, you mentioned middle-sized and potentially centered. So centered option is that you think would work better than like left aligned. Like
I don't know really.
you don't. Okay. No, no.
I do not have a strong opinion. Like you need to get a
Okay.
designer, but I think it might just not have an answer. Like it will always be some trade-off.
Okay. So also I wanted to like ask and such talk about the like widths. So when it's percent, and for example on my ultra wide monitor, you can see on the screenshots it gets super wide, which I don't know, might look weird. It looks more of like a clickable region, which it's not, it's a button. So that's why I was more of trending towards fixed widths. Of course, open, uh, different fixed widths. What do you think about fixed widths, Mike,
Well,
versus
there is a
percent
case
width?
that many users will not use ultra-wide monitors having just one notebook open on them at a full 100% width. If I'm getting a very wide monitor, I would have a notebook open on one tab and a data explorer on the other, side by side. But I can imagine that maybe someone working with Geo Jupyter would have a very large map open and they wanted to explore that in the outputs. In which case, if they have a very small button to show more maps, they would have a lot of moving with the mouse to do to
Mm-hmm.
to reach that button, right?
I
If it
see.
was a small
Okay.
button on the left.
So like your point is that maybe it's even good that like it does it. Okay, I see. Okay, cool. I see. If anyone else has points of view they want to express now or in the comments, please do. Yeah. that's pretty much it. I'll definitely probably want to make more screenshots and check it out, think more about it. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, I see Nick's comment says we could consider those separately. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we got actions, right? We're doing stuff. And the actions right now, there's a lot of really cool stuff. It's hidden inside a context menu. You basically can't open that. If it's a code mirror, then you do a select instead of a long click on mobile and all that kind of stuff. Providing some space on the XY, I guess X makes more sense for the kinds of stuff that you can do to a cell or cell part in this case, like run a cell or re-render a markdown force thing. I think there's a couple weird things to that. That will go a long way. So now if you're in this visual format and you are clicking stuff and you're not using the hot keyboard shortcuts, you could imagine that the input button, the run button, the actions on a code cell could slam on a code cell input could slam to the bottom. So now your run button is right next to all the things that you might do with the outputs right below it. And those could probably stay sticky on the screen and stuff like that. So that then gives us a space where we're not hard coding a new vertical thing, because no matter how wide your screen, well, I guess you could put your ultra wide as ultra tall. That's a hell of a notebook. You can't fix everything, but that's going to take, I guess if this only shows up if outputs are hidden, it doesn't really have a big impact on mobile, because they're not going to be able to see more than 2 plots anywhere, once it starts wrapping. So I think it is a larger part of the question of what can I do right now that we kind of lost when we went to the default command palette modal. It's hard to know what you can do right now in a particular place. And so having command buttons that we already know lots of things about command buttons, being able to put those on the side, being able to turn off icons and use the label instead. There's lots of things we could do that would make these things more accessible, but also discoverable before they're even accessible. That is all. Thank you.
I see. Thank you, Nick.
I guess I'm next on the agenda. Completely unrelated, but related to what Nick said about having a lot of space for a notebook if you flip your monitor with your white monitor. There are monitors for programmers, which are in 4:3 ratio, 3:2 ratios. Yeah, I think not the exact link that I shared, but apparently some people prefer coding like that. Okay, so I wanted to talk about pull requests, a number of them, to unblock JupyterLab 4.5 release candidate. The first one is addressing an issue with the design of how the debugger display or labels get added. So we merged a couple of pull requests, which added a nice visual representation of the cell which was submitted or has breakpoints. I started sharing my screen, and this looks like just want to show you all a picture of that, like this. Okay, so there's this in like in 20, because it was execution count 20. So on the call stack and in the breakpoints, instead of having a random number from IPython temporary file, it has a nice representation. Now, the problem with it is that the trackers were passed into the debugger, so it was not possible to extend it and using an extension which provides a different execution mechanism. And we're thinking, like, could we reverse the dependencies so that this respects the JupyterLab's plugin architecture where things can be extended easily and do not rely on hard-coded stuff. So an author of this pull request came up with an idea of the debugger display registry. And I just wanted to run that by this group in case if you have better suggestions. Not on the implementation details, like whether this should depend on IP kernel, that doesn't bother me at all, but more about what is the interface and how it is called. At one point, I suggested maybe something like source provider, source owner registry, because this is like the notebook and the console give the debugger information about the source code and where it belongs. Having iDebugger display registry seems like a very granular thing to have, but maybe that's fine. I don't know, just flagging this pull request for you all. It still needs a little bit of work to address some feedback, but what it would allow is removing this notebook tracker requirement that was added to basically all models in the debugger, and it would, like, if done properly, this would make transition for anyone depending on the debugger easier. So especially if we added this as like an optional attribute, because they wouldn't need to pass the trackers now, and immigration will be, yeah, basically remove all of these two things which are added in 4.5. Let me share the link to the chat. Okay, I actually cannot see the chat right now. So let me switch to the next pull request. And I wanted to discuss, does anyone have comments on the debugger? Should we wait with the release of 4.5 until that one is in?
You mean delaying that PR after 4.5 release final?
Or well, the other way, should we wait with releasing NRC until that PR is in, or should we merge it afterwards? And that would need, in that case, if we release final with this notebook tracker, the config, and the console tracker in, then we cannot remove them. We need to keep them, which we can keep them and not use them. We like mark them as deprecated, but it will be just more painful to remove them later.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it makes more sense than to clean that up before, right? So we expose less things.
Okay, so especially I do appreciate some quick sanity check. Like, if someone has a better name than the debugger display registry, I think that this is a very well tightly scoped interface. Please do leave me a comment that just removes this a lot of decision fatigue from reviewing a pull request, and I can help with code suggestion to make this like ready for merging. Otherwise, okay. Moving to the next one. This is adding rendering renderer for audio and video, which is kind of a sibling to a pull request from Jeremy earlier, which added rendering of these types of files in main area widgets. And I wanted to ask a very specific question, like, right now, what this expects is that in the MIME bundle, there will be MIME type maps to a string, and the string will represent a base64 encoded data for the audio or video. Now, my question is, can we merge it? Or what happens like if someone wants to send an audio or video, which after base64 encoding would be too large for the browser to handle, like which needs to be streamed, which needs to be a URL. And my thinking is maybe we should like use a URL instead and only treat it as base64 encoded if there is a data prefix. And then treat everything else as a URL. Well, data thing is a URL too, according to the recent nomenclature. The alternative is we just merge it as is and assume that that users will most frequently want to provide raw bytes because they generated an image, say. And if we ever find ourselves needing to also pass URLs, then we could use the metadata because the MIME bundles have the data itself and a metadata field. And then the metadata field could specify, hey, is that base64 encoded? Or is it a URL to the real thing?
Isn't the data sent anyway over the wire as
Well, it's
base64? So what I mean is that even if we don't parse it here, it will still be sent over, right? So let's say we have a video of hundreds of megabytes. Does it mean that we need to have the frontend get these hundreds of megabytes before doing anything with it?
yeah. So currently we are sending like base64 encoded here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, what if someone
Oh,
just
yeah.
wants to pass a
Yeah, that's true.
URL?
Yeah, that's right. That could be controlled right by the yeah, very likely. Yeah, well, it does the job right now. I think this implementation, it works well with small files for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we require everyone to add this data prefix so that we can also resolve URLs? The third option is we don't do anything, like not merge this PR for 4.5 and have some more time to discuss this, because I think this is important because once we merge this pull request, people will write code in their notebooks, which will create these MIME bundles. And if we change it later, the notebooks will stop working or we'll have to maintain some compatibility layer. So it's kind of like harder to merge this than the like let's open files from the file browser using somewhere in there. That's very uncontroversial. This one is actually touching people's work.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, the basic functionality of opening video and audio files works with the widget approach, which is currently implemented. So that's already, I think, good for end users. For the My Bundle would be great, but I would say like if it adds more work on our site or maybe make it a bit harder to work with later, like if we merge it right that now, then maybe we should just delay it. Yeah. So we have like a full release cycle to think more about it. Like if we want to do this right. Yeah. In other words, maybe it's not worth rushing it. Yeah.
Yeah, because users can already like send an HTML
Yes.
bundle and render that with base64 encoded. Of course, it's more annoying for them and it's maybe suboptimal in some ways. But yeah, okay, I will. Okay, I see Nick has hand up.
Yeah. Are they so I haven't shredded on anything gross recently in a mind bundle, but are they coming back? Does it come back as just some rando base 64 junk, or is it actually a data URI already?
Oh, well, that's what we need to decide. But yes, in this pull request, it is not a data URI yet. If it
So
was, maybe
yeah,
it should be. That's the question.
yeah. Is there so then it begs this weird question of does a URI itself have a MIME type? And could you just say this is of MIME type a data URI, and here is the data URI, the full data URI, right? Like not just the base 64 bit. I mean, like this is coming off of, yeah, I mean that's these, but
Yeah,
so
but we are not doing anything with them other than deciding that this will be an audio representation.
oh dang, I want MIDI so bad to be sweet. Yeah. I guess it's more of a spec question. So like if you get back an image PNG, and then the contents of that are known to be a base 64 encoded, whatever. But if you get back a data URI MIME bundle thing, can it then like redispatch based on that? So all you're on the hook for is, give me a data URI. But you could also give it a concrete URL to a local file in /files.
Yeah, so the data URI actually like has this, it's
Oh,
data image. So the MIME type would be included in that as well as the
yeah,
base 64.
because
So
making up new things is hard. Reading the first 10, whatever, reading, if it starts with data : then look at it until you get to semicolon, that's, well, I mean, you still got to load the whole string. So whatever.
So it's basically like a URL renderer
Yeah.
rather than audio, video, separate things. And then we dynamically dispatch to render an audio, render a thing.
Yeah.
I
Because we don't
see.
have to make that up.
Yeah. Okay, I see +1 from Jason. Well, in that case, you could still think about, okay, it's fine to have this audio renderer as a convenience method, but then, yeah, violating the list expectation, like list surprise principle, because half of the users will be surprised that it takes a base 64 thing, and half of the users will be surprised that it doesn't, like, uh, whichever way you go, some people will expect it to take a URL, some people will expect it to take base 64. And with that, like, URI or URL renderer, we always know what to expect.
Yeah.
Is there a MIME type for URL?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. Yeah. It all gets real freaky because then how would you define yourself? No, my brain. There is no spoon. Oh, look.
There's the Stack Overflow question. Text URI list. Yeah, there is. Okay, that's funny. Okay, let's roll with that. I will write down a discussion item and basically bump this to the next milestone for now. Okay, that was super productive. Thank you all for chiming. Unless we have any more comments, I would switch to the next pull request. Okay, so Darshan opened that over a year ago, and originally I postponed it to the next version because I wanted more feedback on how it is implemented. And what it does is basically adds this jump to cell button. Now the complication is that in order to enable it, it also enables the execution timing recording. And that gets stored in Notebook, which is not a fault of this pull request in its own. It's basically how the select last run cell command was implemented. And I like didn't know before reviewing this pull request that we had such an action and command. So this basically requires that there is timing, and then I will not let you like scroll to the last run cell. So yeah, I think that from my end, this is good to merge. I just wanted to check with whether anyone has different opinion. And I know that this is late in the cycle, just before RC. It's a very self-contained thing, well tested. And it's basically my fault that among this 110 pull requests, I missed that because it just was lower than the queue. Okay, please speak up now or remain silent. Okay, I will wait half an hour after the meeting before merging it, but I think we have a consensus, silent consensus at least. Coming back to the exciting stuff, converting documentation to Markdown. I think I will ask an LLM agent to review that, in the sense like go and compare the pages. I will also do that myself. It picked up a small conflict. Do we still want to try to get that into 4.5?
Depends if it's really too much work, or if I browsed the docs manually a little bit. Didn't find anything really big breaking, and then there was also Jenny reviewing, and who found a couple of few things that I fixed today. And otherwise, yeah, I think it could be interesting to try to automate that review. But I think the idea behind that was to unblock maybe modernizing the docs at some point later. Like if we could at least have them in Markdown, that would be much better. Like I took some time to write some docs lately, and yeah, having to go back to restructured text is always a bit painful. So yeah, I mean,
Okay, this seems
it's
to
just
look odd. Like fidget for like.
I mean, you don't even, they exist at 2 points in Git space along that vector, so you can just run it twice locally and diff the output HTML. You can even run the HTML through like a normalizer, right? Like slam it through a pretty printer or something. All that really matters at the end of the day is that we don't break all the links, right?
Yep.
And that includes anchors, because some of these pages are, 10,000 words, no joke. And if your anchors break, then people just are going to get lost in something. And Jason's got his hand.
I was just going to say, if the question is merge this before JupyterCon or not, please no. We have a lot of links and a lot of people are going to be looking at the docs. And there was enough uncertainty, I think, about the doc structure and like the change. I don't see a huge huge benefit for the risk, especially right before JupyterCon and our tutorials that link into the docs and everything.
Yeah, so I guess the question is the timing then, because well, we'll have to do that migration at some point, because staying on RST is painful for maintainers of the docs. But the question is then when. I guess it's fine to wait after JupyterCon then, but yeah.
On the other hand, if we are waiting, backporting will be a pain. Since like if we are merging that into 4.6, any documentation changes then going forward, if we want them to be visible in the stable branch, we would need to navigate to different formats.
This is the sort of thing where I think an LLM is tremendously helpful. Like it understands Sphinx, it understands Markdown, and can help us backport or can help us forward port. Like we don't, maybe we merge it right before 4.6 or what is the next one? 4.6. And we say, here LLM, here's our draft PR from 4.5. Look at our current docs, make any changes that are needed. My guess is that will be fairly effective.
Yeah, it works when you do it like this, like by explicitly asking one of these agents. I think it will not work right with our E6 dev automated backport, but maybe it will be a good opportunity to try one of those Copilot agents then, to do these backports otherwise, because they should be able to at least merge conflicts, handle merge conflicts more easily, and backport such changes. But I'm curious, like in the extension tutorial, like do you have a lot of links, and if so, do you have like the check links checked maybe in place already? Like could
I
that
think
help,
there's
like,
I think we're running the check links. I should double check this to make sure. But
okay.
I was just let's not upset things too much right before JupyterCon. We appreciate that. It seemed like there was enough uncertainty from skimming the content, the comments and things. There was enough uncertainty around small things breaking that merging it before JupyterCon seems risky. But what's your experience? Are there going to be small things that break besides links? Like is the capabilities of the Mist up to the capabilities of Sphinx?
I mean,
we're using
RST is a little weirdly. RST is more sensitive to white space in some places than Markdown, and vice versa. So there might be things that are indented in a specific way that would. I think the only real way to do it is to actually compare it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's got to start a feature branch. And I mean, one thing that can also work is have RST that you write a pipeline, like a normal little pipeline, not a LLM get money pipeline, that runs this tool, then runs a much more aggressive form of prettier, like with line, prose wrap and all that kind of stuff to, pick something or thing like that, and then be able to look at what that outputs and not check that in. So we could start looking at it with RST precursors that generate Markdown, and then work on that pipeline until we get happy with it. I don't know. That's also a lot of oh baby. Oh,
So
DocuTils.
we can down compile that to the DocuTils and compare the output, right? Or even the HTML. Like, will there be changes in the HTML because of the transition, or do we expect everything plus or minus some tiny things that were changed?
Yeah, Mist has a lot of opinions on how it does things. A lot. Like enough that it breaks when you try and use it in JupyterLab kind of stuff. So yeah, the only thing that really counts at the end of the day is the HTML. I don't even think we published the other forms. I don't think we got EPUB up. I don't think we got PDF. So because they are basically closed form, you know, we can look at the differences and start accounting for what changes between them. But yeah, it's a lot. We got a lot of docs. It's good and bad. And we should spell check them.
So the other concern for not merging it right now would be that the transition to a new version will generate, like, we'll need to update lots of links. And that's actually a separate question. Like, is the script which updates links after the release compatible with Markdown? I don't know. Maybe it just grabs for like HTTPS URLs.
Yeah, I mean, if there's things that get generated, you can always eject. If you're using classic MIST MD, I don't know what the new MIST parser stuff, you know, whatever the node-based one. You can eject to RST in the classic one. So if there were certain things that had to stay RST, they could be hidden inside of a fence code block.
Okay, folks. So I think these are all the PRs that were pending for the 4.5 release. Oh, I don't see the agenda. I don't know if anyone else is signed up. If not, then I have two more pull requests that I wanted to highlight, and they are, I think, yeah, both tagged for 4.6. So the first one is addressing a long-standing issue with replace. So in, I think, JupyterLab 4, the search and replace function was changed so that when there is a match in an output, you cannot go into the replacement mode, or rather, when the searching in outputs is enabled, you cannot replace, which was like a very coarse heuristic. Of course, you cannot replace in the outputs because the outputs are non-mutable, as are cells which are read-only, but it was annoying to many users, myself included. So this pull request is proposing to have more granularity. And say we have a test and test in and output. If we search, nothing so exciting just yet. But now if I put search cell outputs and go back to the first match, I can click replace. Oh, that didn't work. There's a bug. Oh no, that worked. I didn't put anything to replace. Now, in the final match, the replace is grayed out, so I cannot do that. And my suggestion for this pull request, so this is the active match, and I cannot click replace. Even like if I had, okay, let me start from there. As there are 3 matches, I click replace once. It should have gone to the output one, and then I cannot go to the next match. I can of course click replace all. So one thing that I suggested, hey, maybe we should like change this button to skip, go to the next match. I don't know if it's a good idea. Maybe it's a very bad idea. Any opinions? If you do have thoughts, please put them in the comments for that request. I think there is no rush on this because we are not going to include it just yet. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let me share the URL in the chat. And the final pull request I wanted to highlight is one doing with the menu and adding copy, paste, and cut, which of course does not work well in Firefox. But it works out of the box with Chrome and other Chromium-based browsers. In Firefox, like some black magic is needed, and you get this second context menu because of permissions. However, my concern is that the context menu on cells is getting very long. Like this is before this changes. Like there will be additional menu items for copy and paste and cut text. So what I wanted to discuss is, can we possibly remove some of these items from the context menu or fold them into a submenu? For example, I think that clear outputs of all cells is not a contextual action. It is a notebook-wide action. So I would advocate for keeping clear cell output, because that's for the very specific output that you clicked on, but not for the other one. Enable and disable scrolling for outputs. I'm not sure these are contextual.
Yeah, I mean, does yeah, it's hard. Copy output. Oh man, that output thing is the clipboard thing is noisy. I tell you what, the number of times I've picked up JSON. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you put stuff under, because nested ones aren't great either. I mean, you've got a hot context right now. Do we have any submenus already? We don't have any submenus, so there aren't even any try. Yeah, it's really hard.
Well, we do have submenus here in the main menu, not in the context menu.
Yeah, and even if they've got good keyboard, they're just like an ambulatory nightmare. Think mobile. No, it's not gonna be good. You're not gonna like it, right? Yeah.
Then you also have extensions which add more of those.
Well, yeah. I've gone like 6 layers deep. You know, it's once you give someone a tool, they'll abuse it. Yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch of view options, which has come up a number of times. You know, this doesn't even have side by side and a bunch of other really cool stuff. So, you know, you've got notebook level view stuff. You've got notebook level destructive stuff. You've got whole new widgets, right? Of new console, new subshell. We've got new view for cell output. We don't have new editor for cell input, which would be life-changing and beautiful. We don't have open preview for markdown cell, which would also be life-changing for being able to edit stuff. Yeah, I feel like I think there is a growing need for oh no, your kernel indicator has wrapped to the line below. That's a real bad.
I think this is because it's overflowing, but not so much to get collapsed.
Ugh. Oh, the collapser. You can do that with white space. You can do it with CSS. You don't have to do it with React nonsense. It just works. Yeah. I mean, context menu long, but also context menu dead. And no one knows that it's there. And no one knows that you have to click on a specific thing to get to a specific thing. Because what happens if you right click not in there? Like what about the button toolbar of okay, there we go. So those are just notebook things. Yeah, you're just in some place with notebooks.
So the contextual items which are added on the cell output or on the cell editor get merged with the ones which are on the notebook itself. And I think maybe they should be like exclusive, because if we are getting this long, and that's even before adding 3 more items for copying and pasting text.
Well, maybe that's the thing. So submenus are bunk, but maybe that outer context goes into a submenu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, but So do the right click on the toolbar, because that's always going to be
Sorry?
on the screen. Yeah. Is
That's
there
nothing.
anything? Boo. Yeah. Because you're not always guaranteed to have that big white space. Like, what about a outside? No one, you can't click in the 10 pixels between the side of the prompt area and
There is one on the tab itself.
on the tab, and that's just the window, and we understand that. So you're not even getting that when you get the context. That's like that would be the document context, I guess, then, right?
Yep.
Well, it's really a tab context. New view for delete notebook. Yeah, that you're touching the hot document. Yeah, I mean, submenu's bad. If there's nowhere on the screen to get at. What about in one of those little white spaces in the, like, if you're in a tab area or in the prompt area?
Like here,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
the
so
cell, and that's not the cell.
But that area is so little. Yeah, I mean, I think either they could be toggles. They could be toggles. They could be toggles. So the toggle would be, so if you crack open the big cell one again. Yeah. Okay. So you could have a toggle for show notebook options, show document options. Those would be disabled by default, for example, or in some future state, they'd be disabled by default. If you enable them, it then immediately shows the rest of those menu items without being a submenu. So now there's a hidden state, or it's not hidden. There's an explicit state for I want more context. That would be one way to do it. Or, yeah, that might work. So if you having two actually would be pretty good. Oh, and then you get a different one if you have a selection. If you select multiple cells, which is not possible to do with a mouse, like shift click does.
It is.
Oh, it does. Okay.
It does.
Then
And
you
there's
get
like a delete cells, which is very kind of, is it specific? No,
yeah.
delete
Okay.
cell or delete cells. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one easy one to remove is merge selected cells. Like, it makes sense now. It doesn't make any sense right now if only one of
Right.
cells selected.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like having, and I don't, maybe that would have to be a Lumino thing. No, it wouldn't have to be a Lumino thing. Of changing what's in here based on a setting that you set of show, at JupyterLab / notebook : show cells, and start. Oh no, but it's different in a menu. Because you don't want it to be hidden everywhere, right? If those things are, if they're, yeah, it's a little, the context menu stuff's a little tricky to get right.
Yep. So
Yeah.
just picking at the VS Codes, what they have is they have submenus, and for all the notebook cell actions, they have a separate submenu with 1, 2, 3, 4, like 10 or 11 items in submenu, and the menu itself is also big, like what we have here. I don't know if we should be so scared of submenus. I'm happy to educate myself more on accessibility, whether this is something which can be alleviated with accessibility area, or if it is like intrinsically bad. Yeah, certainly happy to discuss more. Not sure, should we create a new issue for revisiting this menu or continue discussing on the PR? In a sense, the discussion on the PR makes sense because this PR adds 3 more items, which kind of maybe will lead us to different conversation, like should all the copy and all the cut things be grouped together, because when I'm on the output, like I have copy send and copy output, which are far apart from each other. I don't know.
And another thing I don't remember, can you have labels? And labels take up more vertical space, for sure. You know, but
Labels, what do you mean by labels?
now you're getting into stuff that you can't click on, and that it's confusing for other people too. If there was a way to put a caption for a group of things, I think it's just separator, but I don't think there's a way to make a non.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Like categories.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we don't want to go full Microsoft Office ribbon because everyone hated that. It seems like they're, yeah.
I think this has been a great conversation. And I agree, we should take stock of our choices, especially as we keep adding items to menus to eventually trim that down. But I think we're also at time. Maybe this is a good discussion item for JupyterCon or to continue carrying on asynchronously.
Thank you. Sorry for taking up that much time with this.
Mike,
I think it was
valuable
productive.
discussion. No apologies necessary. Thank you for bringing this up. I'm glad somebody's looking at this. If there's not anything else, I'll stop the recording.